Hey guys, welcome to 6 Minutes for Monday, September 12th. I'm Jason Fulmore, SC Wrestle, and I spent the weekend in Florida at the Florida Super 32 Early Entry Tournament. First, a shout out to Rick Tribbett and Jim Price and the entire crew at Osceola High School for hosting. Tons of people, lots of mats, actually 10 mats going on. There was it was just busy. There was some really big brackets, and we're gonna get to all that in a bit. But before we do, I want to go ahead and talk about a couple things. Number one, it is the Georgia Wrestling Coaches Association Fall Conference this coming up weekend, September 17th. So if you get an opportunity and you're a coach, make sure you sign up. You can go back and watch my conversation with Coach Maldonado, and he talks about Leroy Vega coming down. And yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a great conference. So make sure that you go check that out. And I'll post a link here below on where you can sign up for that and that sort of thing. Also, shout out to Claire Bowie, who won her Who's Number One match against Gigi Bragg of Michigan. Here's a short clip I got of Claire and a big throw in the first period.
Underhook on that right side for Bowie, brings her to the edge. Oh, that's gonna be four. Yeah.
Claire would go on to win that match. I think she won 8-3, yeah, that was pretty cool to watch Claire win the opening match. I think it was the opening match of the Who's Number One this past Saturday. We also had Val Solario. Val wrestled Gabriela Gomez. I also think Gabriela is from Michigan. I think she's also from Michigan. And here's a beautiful 5-point throw from Val to start things off. Really, this is the opening 5 points of the match.
Top ranked Gabriela Gomez in the red. Her opponent, second ranked Valerie Solario in the black.
Underway, these two go back for
slide
nice.
by. Soup! Slide by. Soup. What is it, 5 seconds?
And yeah, it was a great throw. Unfortunately, Gabriela was able to mount a comeback and actually get the win over Val in that battle at 100 pounds. And then on the boys' side, Joe Seeley, formerly of North Carolina, formerly of Pennsylvania, now at Lake Highland Prep in Florida. He won his opening match against Nico Ruiz of California before losing to Angelo Ferrari in the finals at 160 pounds at Who's Number One. I don't have a clip of that one, but yeah, you can check it out on Flow Arena. You can check out all 3 of those matches if you have a subscription. So make sure you check those out. Yeah, it was really good to watch them wrestle. I think they wrestled on Friday because I watched it. So anyway, all right, let's jump over to things to know from this weekend. There was several Super 32 early entry tournaments around. One other here in the South, which was in North Carolina. I couldn't be at both, and I don't think that there is any video of the matches from North Carolina. So I'm pretty much just going to go through kind of very quickly. These are the champs from North Carolina. And as you can see, as you look down the list, Virginia, I think they walked away with 7 champs. Pretty impressive haul by the state north of North Carolina. North Carolina wrestlers, Bradley Yoakum, Aldo Hernandez, let's see, Nicholas Mascalino, Tayshawn Glover, John Dominic. They all won as well, 5 champs for North Carolina. And a shout out to Jack Weiland of Eastside, who took the 152-pound title, and Jonathan Sherrard of South Carolina, who took the 220-pound title. So looks like there were some really good matches in that. I wish I was able to go back and watch some video, especially the 132 final between Everly and Baglio. But that's the way it works sometimes. Shout out to those winners and anyone who finished top 4 and was able to qualify if they hadn't already qualified previously. And that actually leads us to Florida and some of the conversations that were had heading into Florida. there's always some debate about whether if you've already punched your ticket and you've already made your way to Super 32, or your ability to enter early, because this is not technically a qualifier, it's an early entry tournament. There's questions about whether you should wrestle or not, whether you should take a space from somebody else and that sort of thing. And that debate was definitely present down in Florida. My personal opinion is, I don't know, I don't like to rob anybody of opportunities, but I also look at it and say, hey, this is your opportunity to go out and compete and claim your spot. So personally, I'm kind of open for up for a really good early entry tournament, and that's what we got, especially at some weight classes, which were outstanding. We'll jump into those. Before I get to it, and I make sure I don't forget to say it, I took probably maybe about 800 picks or so, pictures. You can find them at sewrestle.com/picks. There's a link to the gallery there. And tomorrow, I hopefully will drop a highlight reel, highlight video, like I've been doing for all the other ones. Got a ton of a video to go through and that sort of thing. See if I can't find some. I was able to get around to lots of different of the different matches, but I probably with 500 kids, 600 kids. I don't remember how many actually were registered or whatever. I'm certain that it is a possibility that I may not have gotten many of the wrestlers. So take it for what it is. All right, so let's jump into some of the results. Let's start off with the girls' champs. And I watched a little bit of the girls, not a ton. It was a little, in my head at least, a little tough to jump back and forth between freestyle, which the girls were wrestling, and I think that's great. They should totally be wrestling freestyle, in my opinion. And the guys who were breaking back into folk styles. So, this whole idea of passivity and a step out and worth a point, and watching locked hands, which aren't locked hands in freestyle, and so on and so forth. Or they are locked hands, they're just not penalized, obviously. So, a couple things stood out to me. These are your champs for the girls. And I'm not going to go ahead and read everybody's name. A couple that stood out to me, Kealani Vega, she dominated at 97 pounds. I don't know that she gave up a point. Evelyn Holmes-Smith came down from Alabama. She looked fantastic at 115 pounds. I saw Kailani Barrientos wrestle a couple different times at 123. Olivia Ritchie, who I mentioned in the preview, she's a hammer at 139 pounds. And there were some really good matches. There were also some real dominant performances by some of the champions. So congratulations to all of them. All right, so let's jump into our breakdown of things you need to know from the boys tournament, from the folk style, from the Super 32 early entry tournament. I was going to say the actual early entry tournament, because the girls, they don't have to have an early entry to book their place into registering early. At least I don't think that the girls in Super 32 has a tendency to sell out or anything like that. So fighting for spaces was fun. It was fun to watch. If you are a fan of some of the best teams in Florida, you had an opportunity to watch them compete. The Gladiator Club out of South Dade were up. You had the Eagle Empire from Southwest. You had the Gibson boys. Lake Gibson was there. Although, it was interesting because both Gianni Maldonado and Hayden Whidden were sitting in the corner. They didn't actually wrestle this weekend, which is great, that they they decided they were already for Super 32 and didn't need the tournament and to get all that. But I watched a lot of the other Lake Gibson kids compete. And then we saw Lake Highland Prep. They brought a ton of kids to compete as well. And if you're a fan of Georgia wrestling, we got to see some of the young guns from Camden come down and compete as well. So, and that just makes me that more excited about about Georgia and 7A this coming season. So let's jump on to 106. And 106, they were tucked back in the wrestling room a little bit. And I did not see a ton of the matches for 106. They were actually separated from the rest of the tournament. It was really hard to kind of get back in there and everything else. Liam Davis, and we've got Florida next to the names, Georgia next to the names. Pretty much all the kids were Florida and Georgia kids. Colt Schrader was there from South Carolina. There are a few others from a few other places, but the vast majority were Florida kids. So if I recognize where they're from in Florida, I'll go ahead and make mention of that. Liam is from Lake Highland Prep. He beat Bradley Patterson from Camden in Georgia 8-4 in the finals. But probably the one that kind of stood out was Giovanni Solis, who came in as the 5 seed. He beat DeArmas, who was the 4 seed in the quarters. He only lost to Liam Davis 6-4 in the semis and came back and got third. Wrestled super well. At 113, we had Tyler Washburn, who looked fantastic. He came in as the top seed, and he beat one of the DeSena boys from Lake Highland Prep by injury default in the finals. But probably the most interesting was Gabriel Tellez, who lost to DeSena in the semis, and then lost to Jordan Escara from also from Florida in the 3rd and 4th place match. DeSena wrestled fantastic. He beat Gian Ortiz, he beat Escara, and then he beat Tellez to make the finals. Too bad he got injured in the finals, but expect big things there, and a really, really good weight class. All right, let's jump up to 120. And boy, it was hard. It was not. It was hard to be more impressive than Daniel Aranda was from Lake Highland Prep at 120 pounds. First, it was a great weight class. There were a lot of really, really good wrestlers at 120 pounds, and he looked outstanding. He beat a really good Colt Brown of Lake Gibson 13-0 in the finals. Luis Acevedo from South Dade beat Sam Marvel from Wellington 10-4 in that 4th place match. Aranda was a 3 seed. He beat Marvel and Acevedo on the bottom side. And Clint Legg from Lake Highland Prep downed your number 1 seed, Patrick Jones, which was a big win. And that happened really pretty early in the tournament. At 126 pounds, Josh Avilas from South Dade beat Matthew Velasco 8-2. Blaine Toronto, who I think was the top seed, took 3rd, beat Echeverria 7-0 for 3rd. After he lost to him earlier in the tournament, so kind of a comeback match. And one of the things I think it's important to keep in mind as you're listening to me talk about this is that the championship matches were 2-1-1. And the consolation matches were only 1-1-1. They were only half of a normal high school match. So keep that in mind. I'm not saying that it played a role necessarily in the outcome of any of these matches, but it's pretty hard to call stalling in such a short period of time. And we saw some sudden victory matches. It came down to some really close matches, and some matches that maybe if you have 6 minutes, maybe if you're able to cut and release and get another takedown or something, the match does not look nearly as close. All right, let's jump over to 132, 138 pounds. And 132 is probably the single best weight of the tournament. Southwest, Danny Martinez took the title in Kissimmee this past weekend. He wrestled outstanding. He beat Colin Cassina in sudden victory. I believe that was in the semifinals. And then he beat Roman Maldonado of Palm Bay 9-3 in the finals to take the title at 132. Zeno Moore, who was the top seed, also from Lake Highland Prep, beat fellow Lake Highland Prep wrestler Colin Cassina 3-0 for third and fourth. And to give you an idea, Maldonado beat Charlie Armstrong, C.J. Liddy, and Colin Moore, or Zeno Moore, Zeno Moore on the top side to get to the finals. And I think Ryan Phillips was a state runner-up a year ago. He didn't finish top four. His two losses came to Kissimmee and Zeno Moore, and finished outside the top four. So that's how deep and tough 132 pounds was. 138, top two seeds, Anderson Heap and Elvis Solis from Heap from Osceola, Solis from South Dade, pretty much on a collision course on their way to the finals at 138. Heap eventually got a takedown. I think it happened in the third period, and got the win 3-2 in a really, really close match back and forth. That's a match, again, that I would really like to see go 6 minutes. I don't know that the score would be any different than 3-2, but it definitely would give more of an opportunity to kind of see what played out there. And there were some really close takedowns by both individuals. Aaron Lancer from Miami Beach took third, and Bernali Brown wrestled fantastic. Beat Kendrick and Louis Bazan, and he lost to Solis. Ended up taking top four. Wrestled super, super well. So definitely wrestled well in a good weight class. 138 pounds was a super good weight class. All right, let's jump over to 145. And 145 to me, I don't know that there was a more dominant performance. I don't know that 145 was the toughest weight class in the tournament, but Cooper Haas, he had 6 falls on his way to the title. 6 matches, 6-0, and beat a really good Louis Bellon in the finals at 145 pounds. Down at 152, again, if I didn't think 132 was probably the best weight class, in my opinion, I think 152 was the best weight class. Adrian Ochoa, who was the 3 seed, beat JT Apicella, and I'm sorry, JT, if I said your last name wrong, then beat Balmaceda, and then beat CJ Torres to take the title at 152. Nathan Furman beat Gavin Balmaceda 1-0 for third and fourth. And, because the weight class was so deep, Sains and Colson Elliott both wrestled extremely well. And I wanted to make sure I mentioned them because, the 4 that are sitting above them were super, super tough. And I believe both Sains and Colson Elliott got to that Consi semis before they were actually eliminated from the tournament. All right, 160 pounds, 160 and 170 pounds. And here comes Camden. We had little Bradley Patterson down low. We also saw several other of the Camden wrestlers, including Brock Weaver, in a match with, I think, freshman Mason Bazil at maybe 132 pounds. But here come the hammers. Colin Weaver took the 160-pound title in a really good match over Brandon Cody, who's now at Jesuit, in sudden victory. Weaver dominated his way to the finals. Brandon Cody beat Lawrence Rosario for third. And you see Ransom Randolph there. I think Ransom actually lost his first match to Tyler Rodriguez, and that's why Tyler Rodriguez's name is on there. And then he had to battle all the way back through to make the podium. So at 170, freshman Ryder Wilder from Georgia, 55-2. 55-2. He outscored everyone. 55-2. The incoming freshman looked outstanding on his way to the finals, where he beat Omar Barak from Lake Highland Prep 5-0 in the finals. And a shout out to Albert Manzini of Doral Academy. 2 weekends in a row, placing top 4. Georgia Super 32 up in Ola last weekend. This weekend at Osceola. And again, makes the top 4 in a really good weight class. Roman Garcia finished 4th at 170. And 170 was good. And Ryder Wilder looked fantastic, as did Colin Weaver. So those Georgia boys 7-8 Georgia, might want to keep an eye on those two as we move into the season. 182, we saw Elijah Penton from Winter Springs beat Christopher Sanchez of South Dade to take the title. Penton had some close matches, though. He had to beat Jesse Colas in sudden victory in the semis, and then he had to beat Sanchez 4-2 in the finals. Sawyer Van Ryder, Penton also beat Sawyer Van Ryder earlier. I don't know if it was in the quarters or before that, and Van Ryder had to come all the way back through. Chase Alden, who was the top seed, actually injury defaulted to Van Ryder after he was hurt in his match against Christopher Sanchez. And 195, it's not a deep weight, but I'll tell you what, Peyton Turner just looked outstanding. And I think he wrestles for Newsom. He pinned Alex Smith in that first period, beat Alexander 3-0 in the semifinals, and again, just wrestled super, super good. It will be interesting. We didn't again, it wasn't a super deep weight. As we get to the bigger guys, it's kind of hard, a little bit harder, because a lot of them they're playing football or whatever, but those that showed up, and the weight classes were still pretty deep. I mean, we still had some 16-man brackets up here, which is fantastic. At 220, I believe Landon Walters wrestles for George Jenkins, wrestled great, and 220 had the single closest matches. I mean, Walters beat Damian Soto 1-0. Soto beat Lyle 3-2, and Grant Cooper from, I think, Cardinal Gibbons 3-0. Walters beat Sanchez 2-0, sudden victory in the semifinals. So we're talking some super, super close matches. And again, we only had 4 minutes to work with, or 3 minutes to work with on the backside. And that certainly contributed to some of those matches being super close, which also should give you a clue where Ryder Wilder was able to, I think, put up 3 tech falls in the span of not very much time at all on the mat. So, yeah, keep that in mind. At 285, Austin Foy looked fantastic. Pinned Chris Belamonte. At 224, Foy, he had 3 falls on his way to the 285-pound title. So, it was a great weekend in Osceola. A lot of really, really good wrestling as people prep and get ready for Super 32. Talked to a lot of wrestlers down in Florida. Super excited that I'll get to watch them up in Michigan at the Grappler Fall Classic. Talked to Cooper Haas a little bit about him and getting ready for the Elite 8 duels. We'll probably see a few of those others down in Florida also be on teams up at the Elite 8 duels as well. So a lot of action coming up in the next few weeks. And tune in tomorrow for the highlight video from this past weekend. Hope you guys have a great day.